Hey, I'm Heather, the owner and designer behind Especially Paper. I'm going to show you how to make paper feverfew, a dainty flower in the daisy family. I love it because it's cheery and its small size complements larger blooms and paper flower bouquets. The template is an SVG file designed to cut in your Cricut or Silhouette cutting machine. Let's get started. These are the tools we'll need for this project. I've already pre-cut the petals, sepals, center strips, and several leaves from 65-pound cardstock using my cutting machine. I'm not going to cover uploading cutting files in this video, but if you want to see step-by-step how to use SVG files in Cricut Design Space or DXF files in Silhouette Studio, check the video description for a link to tutorials. I've already colored the leaves. I used alcohol ink to color the bottom leaves and art markers to color the top leaves. But you can use your favorite medium or even use a plain cardstock without adding color. This is a quilting needle, which I like to use as a scoring tool. It has a sharp enough point to leave a clean line in the paper, but it's not sharp enough to scratch the paper. I use needle nose pliers to cut and manipulate floral wire. I found these in the jewelry section of my local craft store. This is 18 gauge cloth wrapped floral wire. 20 gauge wire would also work well for the Feverfew. This is a quilling tool, completely optional, but handy for crafting centers if you have it. This is a bone folder. It's a tool commonly used by artists who make handmade books. I was actually introduced to this tool in a bookmaking class in college. I use it all the time, mostly for curling paper. If you enjoy paper crafts, I highly recommend it. But you could also use closed scissor blades the same way you'd use them to curl gift ribbon. These are Ranger alcohol inks that I use to color the bottom leaves, and the art markers I use are alcohol based as well. My favorite craft glue is this quick dry adhesive from Scotch. I'm going to show you a little trick today using a metal measuring spoon. The size is a dash, one of the smallest measuring spoons available. The point here is to have a small dome, about the size of the flower center. So look around your house, see what you have on hand, and use what you have. And these mini clothespins, also optional, but they come in handy for holding pieces in place while glue dries. If you're interested in the specific supplies and tools I'm using, follow the recommendations link in the description for links to these products. Select two matching petal sets. Just look for the matching shape in the center. To add veins to the petals, use a scoring tool like a quilting needle to score veins into the leaves, drawing a line from the base of the petal outward. I'm scoring on top of a magazine topped with a couple of sheets of newsprint. That gives a nice cushion that allows me to score deeply into the paper without damaging the surface that I'm working on. Glue two petal sets together, aligning the center circle and the shape. Curl the petals by pulling a bone folder over the petals, similar to the way you would curl gift ribbon. This is the spot where you could also use the butter knife or closed scissor blades to do the same thing if you don't have a bone folder. Fold the petals up at the base. Glue two sepal pieces together, aligning so that the points alternate. Curl the sepals using the same method used for the petals. Use needle nose pliers to create a small loop at the end of a floral wire. Keep the loop as small as possible. Use the pliers to fold the loop to a 90-degree angle. Thread a set of petals onto the floral wire. Use a mini clothespin to hold the petals in place. Then add a dab of glue to cover the loop on the top side of the petals. Be sure to position the loop in as much at the center of the petals as possible, rather than to one side, because you want the center to fit over the loop. Set aside to dry. To create the center, tightly roll a strip of fringe. I like to use a quilling tool to get this strip started. The quilling tool isn't a must, but it really is helpful, particularly when working with these small pieces. For this particular flower at this size, I'm just using a single strip for the center. If you'd like to make larger flowers, you can use multiple strips to create a larger center. Once the glue has set, use your fingers to spread the fringe from the center outward. For the outer fringe on the edge, fold it down where it meets the strip. Now here's the trick. Use a small round measuring spoon to push up the bottom of the rolled fringe, creating a dome. You can also do this with your thumb, but using a small dome like this measuring spoon creates a nice smooth shape. Apply a thin layer of glue to the bottom. Make sure to add glue to the edges of the roll. Then place the center in the middle of the petals, covering the loop. Now is also the time to add the sepals. Simply slip them up over the stem until they meet the petals. Reclip the mini clothespin to hold all the pieces together and set aside to dry. Now you can use the flowers as is on a single stem, or I'll show you how to glue 3 stems together. This technique works well if you're using cloth wrapped floral wire. You can certainly wrap 3 stems together with floral tape, but I personally prefer the look of the stems glued together. Slightly bend the tops of the wire about 1/3 from the top. Use mini clothespins or some other fastener to hold the bottom 2/3 of 2 wires together. Add a thin line of glue along the wires. Avoid getting too much glue on the clothespins. A little bit and you'll be able to unclip them, but too much and they'll be stuck. Clip the 3rd wire into the clothespins. As you work, squeeze the wires together to make sure that they all come in contact with the glue. Now smooth the glue over the wires. Your fingers are going to get a little dirty for this one. Add a few more clothespins to keep everything in place while the glue dries. To add leaves, create a little curve by running the paper leaf over a bone folder. Create some upward and some downward curves to mimic real leaves. Add glue to the bottom center stem of the leaf and align it to the stem. For Feverfew, I typically place my leaves right where the three stems come together. Use a clothespin to hold the leaf in place while it dries. If desired, add a second leaf on the opposite side of the stem. So that completes your stem of Feverfew. You can find this template and other paper crafts at especiallypaper.com.